Hi everyone, and welcome to my channel. Today I want to ask, how are your New Year's resolutions going? Have you been sticking with them, or have they fallen by the wayside? In January of this year, I set a personal New Year's resolution to create a bucket list for the entire year of 2026 and challenge myself and anyone else who was interested to cross as many things off that list as possible over the course of the year. The list, if you are curious, is linked down below, as well as information about how to join my bucket list challenge if that sounds intriguing to you. And today what I want to do is have a quick little check-in and I guess accountability report on my progress so far. I've been at this now for about 2 months, so I just want to let you know how it's going. So what I did at the start of this project was obviously I made a list of about 40 things, and then for myself, I identified like the 20 things on the list that I wanted to try for this year. And then I took those 20 things and I split them up by quarter. So I just mapped them out over the 4 quarters of the year and figured out what I was going to do and when I was going to try and do it. And I made myself a game plan basically for Q1, as any good project manager at my office would do. I know this sounds so like work with Q1, Q2, etc. But it works, that approach to getting things done does work. So yeah, I started with Q1, and the things I had on my list for Q1 were, number 1, to try something aerial. This is done. As you know, if you have been on my vlog before, I have now taken 2 flying trapeze classes, and I am signed up for another one later on this month, and I'm really looking forward to it. I've discovered that I love flying trapeze. So that's done. Number 2 is to try doing calligraphy. And I'd say that this is pretty much done, but still kind of sort of in progress, because I'm very much still in learning mode and in practice mode, and I've not done any kind of real project using calligraphy. But I know now what I want to do. So by the end of this month, I hope to at least have started that project. All right, number 3 was to make one healthy, sustainable change to my diet. And I would say this is done, but ongoing, obviously, because it's a habit. I stacked all of the habits that I wanted to attempt kind of early in the year so that I would have plenty of time to get them right. If I lost my way at some point, I would have plenty of time during the year to pick them up again. But yeah, one of the habits was to make a healthy, sustainable change to your diet. And in my case, specifically, I am trying to eat leafy greens every single day, on average. And I'll have more to say about that in the rest of this video. Like the second half of this video is going to be more focused on that topic. But that's the change I'm making, and I've been doing it for 2 months now, so I'm well on my way to this being a habit. Number 4 was to reread a series that I loved as a kid. This is done. I reread The Song of the Lioness Quartet by Tamara Pierce, and I loved every word of it all over again. So that's done. Number 5 was to start a meditation practice. This is also done, but again, it's an ongoing habit, so I've got to see it through for the rest of the year. For me, the goal was actually to be more consistent with my existing meditation practice, and I have managed to do that so far. Number 6 is to declutter your closet, and this is still very much in progress. My last video featured me starting this project, and my goal is to have it finished by the end of March, so by the end of Q1, and I think I can do it, but yeah, it's still very much in progress. I'm about maybe like 40% of the way there, I would say. And then another item happened, a bonus item from the list happened. I didn't try to make this one happen, it just happened. And that was to win a prize in a contest or raffle. I won an award at work, so I get to cross that one off my list without even trying. So that's fun. I decided to count it towards this year's bucket list. So that is where I am so far. As far as I can see, I've got 3 main goals for the rest of this month, and one is to go to my 3rd flying trapeze class. Another is to finish decluttering the closet, and then the 3rd one is to actually start my calligraphy project. So I'll be covering those over the rest of this month if you want to hang in and see more of my vlogs. So this has been Cameron's accountability moment, and now it is your turn to share down in the comments what you want to accomplish by the end of March, what you want to accomplish by the end of the year. I would love to hear about it and to cheer you on and encourage you. If you've paused on any of your New Year's resolutions, I think spring, the coming of spring, the season of new beginnings, this is a great time to pick those up again and to follow through on your intentions for the year. There's still so much of 2026 left, and if you are watching this, I really want you to make this your year. But now back to our more regularly scheduled programming. I want to do this week a what I eat in a week style of vlog, but focusing on that healthy habit of eating my greens every day. I want to show you what this looks like in practice and also share with you a few recipes in case you also need more leafy greens in your life these days. And probably most of us could use more of them. So let's get into it. Hello everyone, it is Tuesday evening and you are in my kitchen with me, and I'm going to cook tonight some broccolini along with our main dinner. What we're having tonight is a chicken pot pie made by the good people at Whole Foods because I had a day and I don't feel like cooking, so I texted my husband to pick up something super fast and easy from the store that I could just throw into the oven and we could eat and move on with my life because, yeah, I had a day and I'm tired. But I am gonna make some broccolini because I haven't had any greens today. I know they're not technically like leafy green vegetables. I was hoping for broccoli rabe, but Paul said he couldn't find any at the store, so broccolini is what we've got, and honestly, it's close enough. Like, it's super healthy. Yeah, I'm saying that it counts. So that is what we're gonna have tonight, and that way I will get some greens for the day. And let's cook these. To make greens taste good, if you are somebody who's like, oh, I don't like greens, they are so bitter, they're just not for me, I don't like them. Here are things you might want to use to season your greens so that they are more palatable. I'm going to use all of this tonight. So I cook them in olive oil, and then obviously you'll want to have a little salt, red pepper flakes, lemon juice to finish them off is very nice, sliced garlic or chopped garlic, and then Parmesan cheese. And what I'm doing now is just bringing a pot of water to a boil because I'm going to blanch these broccolini. I wouldn't normally do this in the Dutch oven. I would do it in this pot, but as you see, it is occupied. So the Dutch oven is heating some water, and I'm going to blanch them for like 2 minutes and then finish them in the cast iron skillet. And while the broccolini are blanching, you can saute your garlic and red pepper flakes until they're fragrant, which only takes about a minute. Season with a little salt. squeeze a little lemon over these. All right, I think they're done. Gotta get the that garlic on there. And then we are finishing these off with some Parmesan cheese.
Say what
oh, that's good. All right, this one now. So that is Tuesday night's dinner. Broccolini made by me, and chicken pot pie made by Whole Foods. Good morning, everyone. I am just now adding some spinach to my breakfast smoothie. I like to add a big handful of this. I'm just gonna put in all that's left. We're about out of spinach. I go through it pretty fast these days. So that all goes in there. I have shared this smoothie recipe in a previous video, which I will link up above. But I have it 3 days a week, and these days I am adding a bunch of spinach to it, and that is an easy way for me to get my daily serving of greens. Hi everyone, it is Friday evening and I'm about to make dinner. I did not eat any greens at all yesterday. It just didn't work out that way. So today I'm having like 2 servings of greens. So this morning I had some spinach in my smoothie as usual. And then now I'm gonna make like a very greens heavy soup. Basically a spring minestrone, if you will. So there's going to be asparagus and peas and also some kale, a lot of kale actually. But it's going to be sort of kind of a minestrone. And I'm going to show you the recipe. All right, everyone, so I've got my mise en place all set up and just want to talk you through all of the ingredients that I have here. This is about 1/4 cup of olive oil in my Dutch oven where I'm going to make the soup. Behind it, I have a pot containing, I don't know, maybe 1.5 or 2 quarts of turkey stock, homemade, that has been in my freezer since Christmas, a few days after Christmas when I made turkey stock from the leftovers. And then here I have a chopped onion and 2 stalks of celery sliced. A nice piece of ginger, about that much. 7 or 8 cloves of garlic. The recipe said to use 2 tablespoons of minced garlic. I think you can do garlic to taste, but we like garlic a lot, so I'm using that much of it. About 1/2 a bunch of asparagus. I'm gonna slice these up. A bunch of kale that I have coarsely chopped and washed in the salad spinner. Orzo, but you can use any small pasta that you want. This is just under 1 cup, but you know, it just depends on how much pasta you like in your soup. Some green peas, a can of beans just to add some protein. Ideally, I think I would have used cannellini beans, but we have a lot of kidney beans, so I'm just going to use a can of those. And then for seasonings, in addition to the ginger and garlic, Parmesan rind. We just get these at Whole Foods and throw them into soups. This is store-bought pesto in a jar. 1/2 lemon that I will squeeze at the end. And then salt and pepper. And then I have some parsley sitting on the kitchen table that I will probably sprinkle on top of the soup. But those are the main ingredients, so we will go ahead and get started cooking. We start by sauteing the onion and celery in the olive oil, and I also seasoned this with some salt and pepper. And then this takes about 5 minutes before they get soft. And in the meantime, you can mince, I should say, your garlic and ginger. This is really a lot. It's like, I don't know, maybe even a quarter cup, third of a cup of aromatics. So if you want to go lighter on the aromatics, you certainly can. We love garlic and ginger. I think they will help us keep from catching any of those like late winter, early spring colds that seem to be going around. Yeah, both garlic and ginger I think are really healthy for the immune system, so putting a lot of both of them in there. Alright, I've just added the garlic and ginger. My onion and celery are soft and in fact starting to brown a little bit. I was maybe dilly-dallying too much. You don't really want them to brown, but cook this about 2 minutes until it smells really good, which this is starting to. And next I'll be adding practically everything else. So that's why I got the mise en place done in advance. So you want to kind of have things ready to add quickly before you start the soup. So just kidding. I've added the broth, the stock rather, and as you can see, the kale, an absolute mountain of kale. And since the kale is so voluminous, I'm going to just let that wilt before I add anything else. Yeah, so the asparagus is over here waiting. I chopped it into, tiny little soup-sized pieces. Still haven't added the orzo, or the peas, or the beans. So yeah, just gotta let this kale shrink before I can add any of that stuff. The kale has cooked down now, as you see, and I also went ahead and popped in the Parmesan rind to flavor the broth. And I added some more broth actually. Like I felt like there wasn't enough liquid in the soup, especially since I'm going to be adding some pasta. So I added some more water and a little bit of this better than bouillon stuff. And so yeah, now we have more soup, at least more liquid in the soup. But that being said, let's go ahead and add our remaining ingredients. So everything is in here now except for my final touches, which are the pesto and the lemon juice. And any last minute salt and pepper. Doesn't this just look like a spring in a pot though? Anyway, what we're gonna do now is bring this to a simmer and just let it cook until the pasta is cooked along with all the veggies. So it shouldn't take too long, like 10 minutes or even less. So meanwhile, I am going to toast some bread, pour our drinks and everything so that we will be ready to eat in a few minutes. All right, here is our soup after a nice little simmer. And now I'm just gonna add some lemon juice to it to brighten it up. The ginger already brightens it up a little bit, but I feel like it could still use some acid. And then I'm gonna bring the pesto over to the table. Well, upon tasting it, I realized that it needed both more salt and yet more lemon juice. So I've cut another lemon. So yeah, maybe a whole lemon's worth of juice in this. Like it really needs that acid. Just adding some pesto. So there we have it. Very green spring minestrone. If you're Italian and know what proper minestrone is, don't yell at me. This is from a New York Times recipe that I then tweaked. So I know it's not an authentic minestrone, but it's healthy. It tastes like spring, looks like spring. Hi everybody, it is Sunday night and I am about to make dinner, which is going to include Alice Waters' recipe for Chard Gratin. And here is the recipe. I will be honest, I'm not going to follow it exactly, but I will follow most of it. In fact, one of the things I'm going to change is I'm going to basically make a hybrid of the Chard Gratin recipe on the left and the chard with Parmesan on the right. I think it's so funny that she gushes about how great Parmesan is with chard and yet doesn't include it in her Chard Gratin recipe. What was she thinking? I don't know. I don't question Alice. So I have here my bunch of beautiful rainbow chard that I have washed and coarsely chopped. Alice suggests separating the stems from the leaves and cooking the stems first before adding the leaves. And the stems are kind of thick, but as usual, I'm too lazy to do this, so I'm just cooking it all together because the chard is going to be boiled and then it's going to be baked in the oven. So, I mean, I think the stems are going to be cooked just fine. I'm not worried about them being tough. I am also bringing this pot of water to a boil to blanch the chard in for a few minutes prior to assembling the gratin. And while I wait for the water to boil, I am going to make the breadcrumb topping. So what I have here is about a cup of breadcrumbs. Alice says to use fresh breadcrumbs, and by all means you can do that. I am using maybe about a third panko, third of a cup panko, because that's all I had. And then these breadcrumbs from Whole Foods that are not fresh, not remotely fresh. They have been in our cabinets for a hot minute. But you know what? This is being served at Chez Hostetler, not at Chez Panisse, so I don't think it's the end of the world. Yeah, breadcrumbs, and I'm going to add these to a saucepan of 1 tablespoon of melted butter and just toast them. And get these all nicely coated in the butter. And I think I'll actually add some grated Parmesan cheese to this. If you all haven't figured it out by now, I pretty much live and breathe for Parmesan cheese. All right, so I grated maybe a couple of tablespoons of Parmesan cheese that I'm now stirring into the breadcrumb mixture here. And I'm, oh shoot, I turned off the heat. So I'm just going to stir this until the breadcrumbs are lightly toasted, just slightly brown. So adding the chard now to my boiling water. This water has been salted, by the way, and like you would pasta water. And chard needs to boil for about 3 minutes and then get drained. And I'm going to use this same pot to build the gratin like sauce in. Here we have a diced onion that I am sauteing in that same pot that I cooked the chard in. I'm sauteing this in 1.5 tablespoons of butter. And this will cook for about 5 minutes until the onion becomes translucent, at which point I will add the chard back in and then make like a sort of bechamel sauce. So I'll be adding like some flour and some milk to make the gratin sauce. And you know me, I will probably also grate in some Parmesan cheese at that point. Just added in the chard and also a good dash of salt, a good pinch of salt. And so next I'm going to add some flour and some milk to this to start making the sauce. Alright, so I've stirred in 2 teaspoons of flour. And it looks like this. It is really shrunk in this pan, y'all. I don't even know if it makes sense to use the gratin dish I have. Yeah, there's just not a lot here anymore. But I'm going to stir in the milk. So this is half a cup of milk. So I grated in a little bit of nutmeg, fresh nutmeg, which is traditional in gratins, or bechamel sauce, I should say. And then I also grated in some Parmesan cheese. And then I'm just letting this cook for a couple more minutes before I put it in the gratin dish. I also gotta get my chicken in the oven. But this mixture is basically done. I'm gonna put it in the gratin dish and top it off with the breadcrumbs. And then it bakes for 20 to 30 minutes. And that'll be dinner. All right, here's my chard mixture in the dish. It's so shallow. Yeah, I had to really work in order to make sure that I covered the bottom. Like, it's right there. So, moral of the story is that greens really shrink. I could probably made this with 2 bunches of chard. But anyway, I'm gonna dot some butter over it and then put my breadcrumb mixture on top. She's going into the oven now, all topped with her breadcrumbs. All right, here she is out of the oven. So here is Sunday night's dinner. Sweet potatoes, chicken, and chard gratin a la Alice Waters. Good morning. It is Monday, so of course I'm putting a nice big handful of spinach into my smoothie. And then I'm probably gonna have a leftover soup for lunch today. My leftover soup that had kale in it. So that's gonna take care of 2 servings of greens today. And here is Monday's lunch, a repeat of my soup from, I think Friday night. The orzo has really swelled up, but it's the same soup, I promise. And so that means 2 servings of greens today. Well, there you have it, everybody. Those are all of the leafy greens that I ate this week. I'll say it's not always easy to stick to this habit, but so far so good. I am, as I said, about 2 months into it, and it's going well. And I will say that I have not gotten sick this winter. I don't know if it's the greens or what, but this is the first year I can remember that I have not gotten a cold or a flu or COVID or anything, while everyone else around me has had some kind of winter bug. So I think it could be the greens. I don't know. All right, y'all, that is all from me for this week. I appreciate your watching so much, and I wish you a great week. I look forward to seeing you next Tuesday. Bye.